Welcome to JustWannaQuilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and, of course, a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. I'm Elizabeth Townsend-Gard. I am a law professor. I just want to quilt, and this is the podcast. Today we talk to Seth Hackler. He is the genius behind the Facebook group Quilting on a Budget, which has over 30,000 members. He's going to talk to us about how that happened, also about being a man quilting, a quilting man, and he's fun. We have a little bit of sound issues. You'll see I had to edit a little bit weird because there was just a little bit of strangeness on the audio, but it's listenable, and Seth is awesome. So let's go listen to Seth. All right, let's test levels. Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm super psyched. I'm really psyched to chat with you because I think the Facebook groups are such a force in this really amazing way, and I love yours. Okay. So tell me your name and where you are.
Well, my name is Seth Hackler, and currently I live east of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Awesome. And tell me, so you are one of the administrators of Quilting on a Budget, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, the group I started, I want to say about a year ago.
About a year ago. And you guys have 31,000 members already. That's like insane and remarkable. So I would love to chat more about that and about the experience of what that's been like. But let's start with the very first question, which is, what is your first memory of someone sewing or quilting?
My first memory of it?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up, mom and dad separated, and anytime I would go see mom in the summertime, she always had a quilt, pieces that she was working on or in coats, that he was in the middle of doing. So in the summertime, that was kind of a way to spend time with her.
That's really cool.
And also my grandmother, and it was kind of a way just to do things, to kind of, I don't know, just have some kind of common with my grandmother as well. But she has never used the sewing machine ever. She has always hand sewn everything.
That's remarkable. And when did you start?
Yeah, and her stitches look even better than.
Isn't that amazing? So amazing.
I'm sorry, go.
Yeah. And so when did you start?
Oh, yeah.
When did you start quilting?
I guess I was about around 21. I kind of dabbled in it a little bit before then. But it was about when I was 20 or 21, I started trying to use my mom's sewing machine, and she finally was like, "You're old enough, buy your own machine, leave mine alone." So that kind of jump-started me into getting my own, and I just kind of started from there a little at a time.
That's really interesting. And what kind of stuff do you like to, do you have a particular style, or sort of, what do you like to do with quilting?
I kind of tend to veer towards the more traditional. Yeah. I can appreciate the artsy-fartsy quilts, the very modern stuff. I can appreciate that, but I tend to like the older, more traditional patterns, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So are you the one choosing the block of the month for the Facebook group?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're going with, and that, I think that's such a cool thing. I'm doing it. I've done my first block. I've done January. Haven't gotten to February yet, but it is really traditional, and in some way, it's nice to be doing those traditional blocks, to sort of going back to basics. Was that your feeling about that?
Well, the reason why I'm picking those is because a lot of those blocks, when you look at a quilt, you see the big picture and you're like, holy cow, that must have been so hard to do. But then when you look at each individual block, it wasn't really that hard once you break it down.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do with the block of the month, is find some of these older traditional blocks that look like they're kind of hard, but they're really not once you look at the construction of them.
Yeah. I think that's totally true. All right, so let's talk about this phenomenon of the Facebook groups. Your group is Quilting on a Budget. How did it begin? And sort of what's the philosophy behind the group?
Well, it began because I lost my mom about going on 3 years now.
I'm so sorry.
And so I took a bag of her scrub tops because she was a nurse. And I decided that I was going to make a quilt out of them. And then I soon realized that having to buy, the ends that I didn't inherit from her, everything kind of added up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the more groups I was in, everybody would focus on, is that a Kona cotton or is that a Moda print or,
right.
Everything had to be $16 and $17 a yard of fabric. And Mom and Grandma never did that. They used sheets for backing. Mom used old clothes to make quilts or just whatever. So I got the idea, I can't be the only one that loves quilting, but, doesn't have like an endless supply of money to do this. So I started that group. That way we could kind of share ideas. Like, one of my big ones that I came across is I go to the hardware store and buy quick cutter blades. They're $2 for 2 of them. They sit on your rotary cutter, and you save money instead of $15 for pack 2 for the name brand.
That's really great.
They work maybe not 100% well, but by seven packs of blades that equal out your $15, you're ahead. But maybe nobody else would have thought about that if they don't know to go look for that.
Yeah. That's really great. Well, there is, so you started it and then what happened? So did you have other people you started it with, or sort of what, you decide, okay, I'm going to do a Facebook group. How did that begin?
So I knew another girl, Becky Beaver Hoover. If you're in the group, I'm sure you've seen her. I met her brother because I'm in a quilting group on Facebook, and we were in another swap group together. And when I started it, she was the first I joined in, and she kind of helped me once it got to be so big. Started helping me do admin stuff, and then as we grew, the more active that I thought were, constructive contributors, or one that I have, know that have been quilting for a while and my valuable. I just asked around, hey, do you want to be an admin on the page? And they'll kind of help here and there. And yeah, I got quite a few people that were willing to do it, and really made it easy for me because I drive a truck in my daytime job. So, a lot of these guys have more time to devote toward quilting and being on Facebook, stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. So how fast did this grow? So you said it's been about a year?
Yeah, it's only been about a year. And actually, I put a cap on it because there's some other groups, and I don't want to name them or whatever, but there's other groups that are 60 and 70,000.
Yeah.
And go on there, and there seems to be a lot of bickering. It seems to be kind of like you're just in any room. And I didn't want our group to be that way. I wanted it to, stay, well, I mean, we're around 30,000. And I think that's enough to keep page active, but it's not so overwhelming that if somebody has a question or whatever, that people can't be interactive on it.
Yeah. That's remarkable. I mean, it's hard to believe like these groups are this big, right? That you're just, I mean, I don't know. To me, it just seems amazing because it does feel very small. And when you're on it, you don't feel like everyone's just so nice and you're part of a community. And then you realize, oh, there's 30,000 people on this community, but it doesn't feel that way, you know?
See, and that's one thing that that we stress. That's one of our main, I guess you want to say, one of our principles of group is we don't talk about religion, we don't talk about politics, and there's no quilt police because we have people from all over the world in that group.
It's a pretty serious majority of women in quilting, you would say. How is it to be not identified as
Absolutely.
female? Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I get a lot of funny looks, at least in the beginning, when I go to a quilt shop or like Joanne Fabrics and I'm buying fabric and they're kind of like, oh, is that your wife? No, it's for me. Oh, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a quilter. And then they kind of pause, and then it dawns on them I said wife, and it's like, oh, well, you're also a straight guy that likes quilting, which kind of puts me even further in a smaller bracket.
Yeah.
But I think there's some people that kind of stuck in, I guess, traditional views. It's kind of a woman's thing to do. I don't feel that way. I think it's an artistic expression. And men have been sewing for, thousands of years. I mean, you would normally go to a male tailor.
Yeah.
And that's sewing. So I don't know. I don't get a lot of nastiness, but definitely you kind of know that, you're kind of like the odd ducker.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I tried joining a quilting guild.
Yeah.
And I went to one meeting, and out of like 150 people, I was probably the only one there that wasn't maybe 50 or above.
Uh-huh.
And I was the only male there that wasn't somebody's husband that just came to carry you something.
And how did you feel welcomed, or did it feel like you didn't fit in?
In that particular case, no, I absolutely felt welcome. They thought it was kind of it's two sides of the spectrum. Either it's like you don't belong, or you're kind of like a novelty, like, oh, cool,
right.
There's a guy wanting to do this,
right.
That's neat. But for the most part, I've been welcomed, and everyone's willing, once they see that I'm actually serious about it, or that I can kind of talk to them and I understand what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's kind of serious about it, and then it's not so odd, I guess, for them. I've gone to a quilt shop before.
Yeah.
And, the women let me walk around for probably 40 minutes and never said anything to me. And, I asked them a question, and they just kind of looked at me like, you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
So I just don't go to that. I don't go to that store anymore.
Yeah.
But the other stores I've gone to, they know me now.
Yeah. So,
I think men have a place in the quilting community.
Yeah.
And I think as it goes on, it's kind of becoming hip and trendy now. So I think there's going to be more light, I guess, shined on the male counterpart of the quilting community.
Interesting. Do you have a sense of the percentage of how many men are in your group that having because you're one of the leaders, is that encouraging other men to